Yo, what up, fam? It's TheFilthyCasual here, aka Ephremjlm. And rejoice, for we have been blessed by the devils. We now have Chainsaw Man Tuesdays. And what a Tuesday it has been. Chainsaw Man Anime Chapter 1 was gorgeous, and this week's chapter of Chainsaw Man not only left us with a major cliffhanger, but with a notification from Viz that we will have another chapter on Tuesday, October 18th. That being said, in true Fujimoto fashion, with his unpredictability, it seems like some chapters are just going to be coming on a weekly basis and some chapters are going to be coming every other week. Viz didn't necessarily clarify, just that we were going to be having that next chapter on the 18th. But before we begin, please be sure to check out my live read-through of Chapter 106, as well as the commentary on what the communities on Twitter and Reddit had to say about the chapter. And check out my Twitch account, Ephremjlm, if you want to catch a live stream and go with me through the process of reading each chapter every week, or I guess every other week. That being said, let's get started. Chapter 106 of Chainsaw Man starts off with a really nice art panel, and I can't really undersell just how well he knows how to craft a scene. The silhouettes of the buildings on the windows down to like the shading and shadows. And there's another part in the middle of the chapter with Yuko that I think really shows how well he is at shading, as well as a part that kind of ended up being like big news on Reddit and Twitter. A lot of people were commenting about the chat bubble behind the window. We'll get to that later. We even have a shot of the elusive alleyway, which always happens to show up before big events happen, such as the place where Denji killed his father, to where the door in Denji's heart is depicted. Crafting the scenes really seems to be a strong point of Fujimoto's, and I personally love all of the artistic details. So at the beginning of this chapter in the alleyway, we see Asa walking with Yuro, right? And we start to kind of notice something that's a little bit different, at least something that I picked up on. The dynamic of who's following who becomes apparent really quick, because we haven't seen Yuro walking ahead of Asa before, and in this scene we do, and it becomes kind of striking at first, to the point at which like I had to kind of look at it a couple times because I thought that was really interesting. Normally Asa is in control and Yuro has to follow behind her. Asa then starts blaming herself, stating that she thinks Yuko had made a contract with the Justice Devil because of wanting to protect her from being bullied. She then goes on to ask Yuro what she thinks will happen the next day and how Yuko will stop the bullying problem, to which Yuro pretty much states that Asa knows what's going to happen. Asa then says that she's going to stop her, but Yuro lets Asa know that there is nothing she can do because Yuro now controls her body and won't let her. This is actually pretty interesting because I think this is probably the first time that we've seen an internal interaction between a possession of a devil and its human host. Yuro then states that her goal is to kill Yuko and either 1, lure Chainsaw Man out of hiding, or 2, when Yuko is slain, they will be able to join the Devil Hunters Club, which will hopefully get them closer to Chainsaw Man. And on a side note, we already know Yuro wants to kill Yuko anyways because she's friends with Asa, and that would help them create a better weapon. Yuko is Asa's only friend, so the stronger the bond, the stronger the weapon. In the next beautiful scene, we see Yuko staring at a bonfire, which I can only assume are the bodies of those she killed in the previous chapter burning. This is what I was talking about a little bit earlier, in which the shading of that panel and like the lighting from the fire on the building is just, it's shaded just perfectly. It looks so good. We then learn that Yuko, in her own way, looks up to Chainsaw Man and that she states that she will kill all of the bad guys for Asa, just like Chainsaw Man. This is super interesting because we saw in the previous chapter how crazy Yuko now is, or was, and we just didn't know about it. And the thing about the Justice Devil that I think we as readers need to remember is that the devils get their power from fear. The Justice Devil in particular really starts to show that fear in Yuko, and that the fear of justice comes from being accused of committing crimes that you didn't commit, or harsher sentences or penalties that just aren't warranted for the said crime. In this case, the bullying. And again, going back to how Yuko kind of admires Chainsaw Man, it almost seems like she sees Chainsaw Man as enacting justice on devils, while she enacts justice on humans. Skip forward to the next day, and Yuro confronts Yuko. Yuko understands the situation immediately, and in a simple yet creative panel where the chat bubbles are hidden from the inside of the building, but the reader is on the outside, making us internally read it with a muffled effect. I just gotta pause for a second here. Reddit and Twitter went off about this panel. I think a lot of times the simple techniques really work well. This shows that Fujimoto has a clear understanding of like how to craft scenes in other ways, such as like theater or film. And in this instance, right, when you read it, you actually like in your head, you read it with this kind of sound going on, as if there's like some kind of muffled effect because you're trying to hear from the outside in. Yuko states that she thinks having Chainsaw Man at the school is cool, but a slight letdown since he won't enact justice on the bullies. This kind of also goes back to the point that we just made. She then asks if she can fight Yuro after she kills the bullies. Yuro then states that she knows Yuko is planning to run right after she kills the bullies. Yuro then cleverly states that she has to kill her to get the bullies, but that would also mean killing Asa. We then see the glass break, and we see like a pretty cool depiction of the Justice Devil. One thing I read in commentary on Twitter and Reddit was that it kind of looks like the justice symbol with like the lady who's blindfolded holding, or the scale. I don't see it. I just don't see it. I'm just gonna be real with you.
I don't know if it looks very justice-like. What? Am I crazy? What the fuck? What? I don't understand that. That's kind of cool, like a little colored in.
I don't see it. I don't see it at all. Overall, this chapter of Chainsaw Man wasn't necessarily anything special, but it was a really cool setup chapter. We had some really awesome panels. We got the first depiction of a internal possession. Denji's case is slightly different in that it's not necessarily Puchita, at least not that we know of, right? That would be a twist. We don't necessarily know that Puchita is possessing Denji. More or less that he and Denji have fused together, right? Like Makima kind of made that clear in part 1. Also, it gets a little bonus since we don't have to wait 2 weeks for the next chapter. All in all, I give it a 7.5 out of 10. Nothing spectacular, but pretty cool. If you like this review, go ahead, give me a like and subscribe in the bottom. And if you didn't, tell me why. And if you had any kind of input you wanted to add about this chapter, go ahead, leave a comment at the bottom, and let's start a discussion. I'll catch you next week, Chainsaw Man fans, and I hope that you all have the luck of the devil on your side.